Andy, good to be with you, brother. I'm spending a lot of time thinking about next year. I'm trying to do that less now in my life, kind of live in the moment, but strategic planning is very important. And so as we look ahead, and I look at my practice, team members, how can we be more effective, more efficient? I'm always in need of better content, best practices, because I've learned the last thing I should be doing is trying to sit in a room by myself and just recreate all the solutions that other people have either figured out or are currently working on. So the challenge to me and my team has been, let's go find best practices and make them our own. But the last thing we're going to do is maintain what we're doing, because we know there's a better way, and get off the island or out of isolation, because that's where you get stuck.
Yeah. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts on the sort of the split. When we work with advisors, what we usually find is that most of their education is coming from one or two sources, but a lot of their education, a lot of their growth is trying to come from their own internal sort of development. Like their company is trying to create things for them that usually leave them wanting, if you will. Like they don't quite capture their attention. I'm curious what that is.
So I've sat down with some of the biggest firms, and they're all saying, we create content, we want to add a lot of value to our advisors. And as I've sat with them in a room, when I was just an advisor and I hadn't had experience to all the leadership and all the advisors we coach, I would have just said that stuff's just no good. Now I realize some of it's good. I've just been conditioned to delete those emails.
Yeah, it's true.
And so for me, I'm looking to other sources, and something I've learned a lot this year is I have to leave my office in order to consume information and think about applying it.
Yeah.
I could be in my regular rhythm and just read an article and be like, oh, that's neat. But my behavior usually doesn't change because immediately I'm back into something else.
Yeah.
So I will share that with everyone listening. Consider that. Consider that there's good content being sent to you. Maybe the conferences or the meetings your firms offer are good.
Yeah.
But if it's not meaningfully changing your information, it's maybe not the content's fault. Maybe it's the venue or the process you have in place to receive and apply that content. So for me, that's getting away, getting out of the office. The other is kind of community workshopping in a way. And so I know we do our live events, which we'll talk more about. Advisors, one, that get out of their environment to learn is great. But if you can get somewhere and actually hands-on create the solution, our events, we'll point out the problem, but we'll sit there and spend time fixing it together.
Right.
To me, that's capture Sten for a little bit, clarify the problem, but sit with him then and help him figure the problem out so that he can go back with a solution. That's unlocked a lot for me.
Right.
And we're hearing a lot of that feedback from advisors too.
Yeah. So I'd love for us today to talk about some things we have on tap coming up for next year that we have built out. And this is the great thing is that, you have to listen for what people need and want, where it's their pain, and then just go solve that. And if you do that again and again and again, you're going to have a business for life. Right?
That's right.
So you've identified.
And then every once in a while, tell them the problem you think you have is not the real problem. But a lot of times, advisors, business owners, they have an idea. Mm-hmm. They need help clarifying it and then taking action.
Yeah, and that 100% happens inside of our company where we will offer something, and that's true. You do get that, but then you also get but by the way, here's why here's the intervention.
Well, what is every advisor's biggest problem if we ask them?
Prospects.
Yeah. What solves everything?
Prospects.
More money,
more customers. More customers.
No,
more customers.
But you're losing them. And you don't have a good process to keep them. So there's something to be true about just give me more
remember
business.
That clip we showed right at the event with
what was
celebrity
that
chef?
movie?
What is his name? Everyone that's listening right now is saying his name, and he's super foul mouthed.
It's not Gordon Ramsay.
Yes, it's Gordon Ramsay.
Okay.
Yeah. So he sits down, and we'll use this to lead into the conversation about what's coming, because the answer to everyone's problem is not more customers. But he basically is sitting down, and he would do these interventions with restaurants and basically go in and help them rehaul their menu and everything. And it was like the floor manager. And he basically said, what's wrong with your restaurant? What do you think needs to be fixed? And I can't say it without laughing, but her answer was, we need more customers. And he's a very harsh guy, but other times I'm like, you are showing a tremendous amount of restraint.
Yes,
and it was his restraint mode. He's like, okay, but outside of you'd like more people to come buy your food, what are the other issues? Is it staff? Is it location? Is it advertising? Is it maybe your food, your product? You know what I mean? Is it you? Is it, is there conflict? Is it whatever? I don't know. Not enough seating, too much seating, the lighting, whatever. And she's like, no, we just need more people.
Yep.
He's like, no, but what Okay, never mind.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he literally was like,
I
okay,
tried.
never mind. We're not getting anywhere with her. You
And
know
I
what mean?
loved that clip because it is the exact same thing for our business. We sit with advisors, we coach them, and that is important. But we have some really cool content coming out that we're not ready to tease yet. But there's a reason that we teach at the very end how to get more people.
Yeah.
Because I need as advisors, we all need to know how to receive them, communicate our value, put them in such a great process. And I'm going to make sure you're really good at that before I teach you how to unleash yourself on the world.
Right.
Because you're doing a disservice if you go and just spew average everywhere, and it's just the game of numbers. If I'm going to try to get 100 people, 50 of them are going to be mad because I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
20 of them are going to end up doing something because they have no other option. Like, to your point, a lot of times we have to flip that.
We were talking about this the other day, me and you. We were talking about, and I'm like, my brain is not sharp today because I'm not remembering another name of something. I'm like, hey, speaking of my birthday coming up, Andy's getting old, everybody. Groupon. We were talking about Groupon. You're not talking about Groupon? Okay, all right. I was like, okay. But that's more like the Groupon problem was like, I just need more customers. So I'm going to give them a big fat discount. They're going to come in. I'm like, no, your problem was not you didn't have enough customers. The problem is like your product wasn't that good. The problem was they got a bunch of customers and then they never came back.
That's right.
Right? Because like I'm never switching to PC. I became a Mac guy. I'm Mac for the rest of my life. Because why? Because the product's good enough. It holds me. So we want to talk in the coming year about a lot of different things. And now I'm hesitant to show which one of these things you want to talk about because you said you don't talk about.
Let's hit them all.
Okay. Okay. I thought
some stuff.
I got a vibe from you that like I'm not going to talk about some things. So
we won't fully unpack it.
Okay. We will just open so you can take a peek. The first thing that's coming out to all of you listening and watching for 2024 is that Sten, you have a new book.
Yep.
And the book is very focused on the idea of how to, in a very targeted way, go find people who you know that you can help. It's not a question of, geez, I hope once I get in conversation with them, but on how to go find people and then communicate that, hey, I can help you. I'm someone you can trust. I'm going to simplify things for you. I've got a system in place. Mm-hmm. And I'm incredibly excited. We've got close to a dozen advisor stories that will be in the book of people that have taken what you've taught mm-hmm. and implemented it in their own way. Yeah. And those will be stories in the book. And then you can also actually watch the interviews that we conducted with those advisors. Yep. So this is not this just works for Sten. This mm-hmm. is, no, this works for you, the reader. Yep. And we've got those stories built in. So let me just ask high level, because we got a lot of these to get through. Yep. What are you most excited about for having a book that tackles the number one question that advisors have, which is prospecting?
For my heart behind it is we've been working with advisors now for years, coach hundreds, impacted thousands, is we do get to hear these themes. And when you're looking at such a large group, you can start recognizing what is accepted and just so followed. And it's so much average. It's and then when you see the few advisors that deviate,
so much average.
And then we get to observe the people that have kind of broken out of that and the crazy results they have. That my heart behind reading this book is it's going to essentially challenge what the industry has accepted when it comes to how do you find ideal clients and get them to say yes to you. It'll be the only way you prospect moving forward is the way we wrote the book, is that you will never go back to the way you did it before. That as I learned in my career bouncing around and doing stuff that now I look back and say, why the heck was I accepting that? Yeah. Is that a light bulb will go on and you will forever be changed. No longer will you cold call people that maybe don't know who you are. No longer will you not be able to show value before you get somebody to say yes. That from meeting somebody on the sidelines of a soccer game to getting them to say yes, and even them becoming a raving fan, mm-hmm. that process I've never seen presented before in a way to where it's like, I can go do that tomorrow. Right. And that's what we're going to do in that book.
Awesome. That's all we're going to say about it. We're just going to move on. Yep. More to come.
Cliffhangers.
Boom. One of the things that I'm really grateful for this because a lot of firms have figured out, and I think this is just mature. Like I always applaud and acknowledge, leaders. If you're a leader of advisors, listening or watching, I always take the time to say kudos to you that you and I are having a conversation or you're talking with our company, because that's you saying we're going to go outside of just the people in our company that have our email address, right? That's how I say you're an outsider. If you and we're going to bring in outside training. So we've done this. We did several last year, and this first quarter is literally full for us, just because you and I have boundaries about how much we're going to travel.
That's right.
That we are doing more remote how to charge live trainings.
Yep.
And, there's a lot of things I love to do. Like, I love doing this podcast. It's fun. Like, it's always fun. But if there's one thing that I think is the most fun and I think just the most effective, it's those trainings.
Oh, yeah.
It's those, we're going to go take 30 of your advisors who you think are interested in planning or are already doing it, and then we're going to level them up like within 36 hours. It's crazy, the transformation.
And we're on version 30 of that event now. I look back and the people that came first still say one of the best events we've been to. It's changed our business. But now we're as we've dialed in how do we deliver the content, what exercises are we doing, firms are now saying we have 2 to 4x our production in certain areas within 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
Like, it's not tweaking. It's sometimes you have to shock the system. And if your advisor can come in and be shown the light, like, hey, you think this is your potential, but it's really here, and do this, and this differently, and they do it, and it works immediately.
Yeah.
It's not like, hey, if you do this 5 years from now, you're going to see results. It's like, once they need some results quick. They need some wins, and as soon as they get wins, it's not just somebody speaking to them from a stage and then being like, that just seems so distant.
Yeah.
It's practical. They can do it immediately, and as soon as they start making more money and finding more ideal clients, it's off to the races from there. And then the leaders come back to us and say, hey, we have more advisors. How quickly can we do this?
Right.
That's been our experience at every firm.
And the exciting thing for us is that I like things that self-fund themselves, meaning that, like, once you do this, you said it's off to the races. Well, sometimes you need other people on the team at that point. But people are, because their planning revenue is growing, they're able to afford that new hire. Like, it just comes out of that planning fee. And so we are seeing this on for outside training. If you're interested in that, you can just reach out to us. There'll be links to my email in the show notes. But remote how to charge live trainings, we're getting, we're going to have as many in the first quarter as we did all last year.
Oh yeah.
And that's going to be a super exciting part of 2024 for us. We have added probably 2 more how to charge live events here at our office. The January event is sold out and sold out earlier, and we actually had to stop because there's only so many we can fit in that room.
Yep.
And so we're going to have more of those how to charge live trainings here at our offices in Nashville. And the people are more interested earlier. And I just want to encourage you, like, if you want to change your business trajectory, whether you've been in the business for 2 years or 25, it does not matter. It is. I'm just really proud of it. I really am really proud of that training, and it's just a ton of fun to do. So come hang out with us. Another area we're going to be adding more content is more podcasts. And some ways we're going to do that are stories from advisors. We're having conversations with them, and also just talking to experts outside of the advisor space. We've talked to a lot of those folks, and they're great. But I think that one of the things that you're good at, Sten, is just being a student of human nature and emotional intelligence and the way people process information. And so we're going to expand our guest list to communication experts, to understanding why and how people make certain decisions.
How to run a better business. And I think that's a lot of work we've done is we have the prospecting book coming out. We have how to charge, how do you monetize your time and ideas. Right. That changes your world forever. And as an advisor, like, you have value, and communicate it and get paid for it. You'll never be the same after that. And then how do you run a better business? And so as we work on our content, our commitment to you guys is like, those will be our superpowers. We're not going to bring you everything all the time, but if you hang out with us, you will be elite in those 3 areas. Yeah. And I think, again, about that running a better business, it's really unfortunate because there's so many great advisors who just were not trained in that. They were taught some about product and then get everyone's phone number and start calling. Right. But there is a weight that comes with your success. If you don't know how to run a business, you will be buried under your own success. Yeah, you create a really intense job for yourself with a really demanding boss. That's yourself. Yeah. And that you would never want to work for. Yeah. So how do we be a great boss to ourselves and create the life which we really, really want, which is a healthy business that's going to run apart from us, that we can leave for 2 months if we want to someday, and we come back and it's better than we left it. Like, this is the vision of running a healthy business, and we help our advisors do that.
Absolutely. The next thing we're going to be doing is adding another level to our How to Charge workshop.
Invitation only.
Invitation only. So there is a level of, if you've been to an event already or you've taken an online program, you'll receive some information about this. But yeah, we qualify people for this event. We want to make sure that you are doing planning, you're charging appropriately, that you've got the right infrastructure in place. Because again, if you're going to make changes and grow this, then you have to have people around to help you, because we don't want you to create a big job for yourself. But yeah, that's going to be deeper into preventing, to implementing the prospecting method that we talk about in the book. And really the ins and outs of, and this is what we're finding is we're talking to our members, we're talking to the people that have been to the event, and they say, listen, things are going really well, but it's presented a problem, which is I need to be able to scale this thing where I'm committing to someone for 3 months or 6 months.
The good news about solving the problems you see today and leveling up, which is all of us want to reach our full potential, is that you create higher quality problems to solve. And so one thing we see advisors do is they kind of maintain average because it's predictable. They can complain about the same problem over and over again. But what if you did figure out prospecting like we have, and all of a sudden your issue is like, how do we onboard these people the right way? How do we create a scalable experience? Well, no, I'll just go back to complaining I don't have enough people. And so part of the journey with us is we have tiers of advisors where it's like, hey, if you're tier 1, here's probably the problems you're dealing with. Right. As you tier up, and all of a sudden you become a visionary that runs a company of other leaders, you have other problems to deal with. And so we teach our advisors, like, live in that tension, but our content is also going to keep leveling up. And 2.0 is going to have somewhat of a little mastermind feel, because you're going to have a room full of business owners. And we're going to all share ideas on the fly. I'm going to be in the mix with that group saying like, hey, I'm going to learn from everybody. So 2.0 is, you've gone to How to Charge level 1. You've had some success. You're running more of a business than just a sales operation. And then you can be invited to that.
Yeah. And it'll be about a third the size of our normal event, because, we just think that it makes sense to have a smaller group of people around that. The next change we made within our company is to hire a full-time coach outside of myself for the community, to help manage the community. So you and I are still very much involved in the Elite Advisor Network community of advisors that are full-time advisors, and they're in the trenches day in and day out. But we went ahead and hired another coach because some infrastructure things that we've added is more time with us live, and more time to process planning questions and situations with clients. And I think that every community that I've ever considered, like I have a call on Wednesday with an advisor. Jared's calendar was full at that time, so I'm going to take the call. And it was, hey, I'm thinking about a few different communities, and I'm so fascinated to talk with them about what are you looking for? Like how are you making that decision between? Because I'll tell you, every community that I've been a part of really is that I don't want to get lost. That's one of my first things is don't put me in a huge pool of people unless you have a way of making sure that my needs are heard. Because I'm not joining this for you, I'm joining this for me.
That's right.
So how do you make sure I don't get lost? And then the other is like, what's your track record? Like, show me how this works instead of this makes me feel good.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Yep.
Any thoughts on coaching?
Yeah, I think what you can't argue is an advisor, any business owner, anybody that wants to reach a goal with accountability and encouragement, you will go farther than you will on your own.
Yeah.
That's, in the gym, I can will myself to get there, but like I may cut a set in half. But if somebody's sitting there being like, you're not done, like you will get more out of yourself. And so when we talk about our average versus elite path, an average advisor chooses to kind of just keep grinding on their own, randomly go to some conferences or join some calls and kind of tweak some things here or there. That the industry as a whole has kind of accepted that. There are a few of you, a smaller group that we're trying to grow, that says, I want to do in 3 years what most people do in 10. That for the sake of my family and our lifestyle, that I don't want to just work myself too hard for too long and miss out on everything. To avoid those regrets that most people have, I'm going to give somebody permission to lean in, and I'm going to invest in that. Because I remember when I had the wake-up moment as a young advisor in my 20s that my whole goal was to make enough money to pay my bills and to fully fund my retirement accounts. That was such small average thinking for a business owner. instead of saying the best investment is myself. And if I do that aggressively, eventually I'll have way more than I need to fund all these retirement accounts and do all the things. But investing in myself to make more money that then pays me the rest of my life, that is how an elite advisor thinks.
Yeah.
And having a coach there pushing you and coaching you along is a no-brainer. So if you're listening and you're like, I'm not sure if I need a coach, like that's not the conversation. The conversation should be, is it us or is it somebody else?
Right. Yeah. And that's a conversation that I love to have with people who are considering is what other option you're looking at? Because if it's, I'm going to do it on my own, then why are we talking? You would have already done it on your own.
That's right. Yeah. Which I appreciate when you lean into that. Because sometimes people just need to be called out and hear themselves say stuff. Because like, well, so you're going to keep doing the same thing and expect a different result?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, what are you going to do differently next year? Okay. Do you think that is an elite level thing or is that average?
Right.
And as we ask these questions, a lot of times people find themselves saying, I don't want that.
Yeah.
But my behavior is essentially taking me that way, but I want the opposite of that.
Yeah. And listen, people say a lot of negative things about Dr. Phil, but he asks this great question all the time, which is, how's that working for you?
Yeah.
Because someone will give this big explanation. He'll go, okay, how's that working for you? And my favorite answer ever was, well, I'm on Dr. Phil. So apparently not very well.
This isn't a success stories episode.
It's not that 6 months later, things are better. They're like, well, I'm on Dr. Phil. So apparently not that good. It had this small window of self-awareness. We're like, well, I guess it's not very good because I have makeup on and I'm in a studio talking to Dr. Phil. Right. Asking me the question. Yep. The next one, creating some tools for planners, for advisors who are doing planning. Yeah,
we spend a lot of time and energy on this. Our live events are great. We teach advisors to do things differently, but what we're going to bring first to our community and then roll out at large is our goal is to deliver, and this is kind of a rally cry for my firm this year, is extreme value, massive value with extreme efficiency. Any of us can just spend a lot of time and energy trying to overserve somebody and, for example, spend 20 hours to deliver a financial plan. But what if there was a way to deliver that same plan and the client is just as happy in 2 hours? Wouldn't any of us accept that? And so we will deliver massive value with extreme efficiency. And part of that is us interviewing a bunch of advisors, working with a bunch of advisors. My practice over a handful of years of doing a lot more planning and working with clients is we're going to roll out a software tool that advisors can start building plans in minutes. And it's such a unique way to put it in front of people that a client will sit down and say, I've never experienced this before. Mm-hmm. And so that's in my top few things I'm excited about for next year.
As I'm thinking about the software, I'm thinking about this experience I had just last week in buying a new iPhone. And they keep iterating that process from old to new to where it used to be like, sync it to your computer and then sync the other on a computer. And then they did it over the air, but you started to press a bunch of buttons. And now it's literally like, we see a new phone. Would you like, literally, it'll say, I see a new phone. Would you like to transfer this information to your new phone? And you're like, yes, I would, machine, And then it's like, would you like to transfer all of your data and transfer your phone number at this time? Yes. Okay. And then you just stand back and it does it and you're like, wow. Yeah. But it's knowing what people really want and really need, which is simplicity, clarity, right? Good branding. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's how do you work so hard to make something so simple? And I think that's what it's going to accomplish. Yep. Because the problem is not that people don't want to do this. They want to do this for their clients. The problem is that the tools they have, it's just this sort of duct tape solution. I call it duct tape and chewing gum, where it's like, how did you attach it? Well, I mean, it's duct tape and chewing gum. Yep. But how can you make it simple and effective?
Yep. Concise, sexy, meaningful. Yep. All that.
One more is that we've made some internal changes for our community that is really going to level up the amount of interaction around the content and the conversations we have in our community. And also, there's going to be an opportunity for you who listen to the podcast, you're not a member of our paid communities and you've been to one of our in-person events, that we're going to have resources for you inside of that same platform for you to go, I want to go take this free course that Sten and Andy have made and the team at EAN. And I also would love to make some comments on last week's episode. Mm-hmm. And we'll have conversations there. Because I just think there's other content creators that I listen to. Yep. And how great would it be if when they created a piece of content, you could go have conversations around that content with other people in that community. And so we're going to have an opportunity for those who are members of our community. The experience will be leveled up. But also those who are not members yet of our community, you get a taste for what is it like to be on the inside.
That's right.
And there's some free levels of that, so you can start to interact with us around the podcast. And I'm frankly just super excited because I get to talk to people every day who listen to the show and love it. But I want a place for all of you who are listening or watching to go when you're like, I love that, but I have a quick question. Or I did that, here's a success story. I want a place for you to do that, because right now, if you're listening on Spotify or iTunes, there's no way of communicating that you went and did that on Monday and it worked.
Nice.
And so that's going to be an exciting change for our platform, and that's just something we're investing in because we want to make ourselves more available in 2024 to help more advisors.
Definitely. Finally, are we talking through
We can talk about it.
Let's tease it a little bit. So we get a lot of advisors that come to us and they want to work with us, engage with us. And similar to the average versus elite is what we talk about. I do think there's somewhat of a transition between the two, that we do get advisors that come in and say, hey, we're all in. We're ready to invest heavily in ourselves. We want to see immediate results. But we also get advisors that are saying, hey, I'm new in the business, or I'm a career changer. And they still desire community, because that's something our industry is not great at providing. And so we're going to roll out another tier for that, to where you can engage in our content and you can kind of hang around us and you can see some things. You're not getting kind of full on one-on-one coaching. Like that's something that you need to level up into when the time is right, and we'll help you decide that.
Right.
Our coaches will say, hey, no, you need to start at tier 1 and do X, Y, and Z first.
Right.
But hey, we're going to check in 3 months. And if you're ready, we'll level you up to more intensive coaching where we're helping you more with business structure. But we will now have 2 ways for you to plug in with us and start getting really valuable content depending on where you are.
Right. So there's a place for, and everyone who joins our community will still get a custom business plan and say, hey, here's the next things you need to be doing to grow in your business and professionally. So we're just going to offer more options. And so I'm immensely grateful for you who are listening or watching, the amount of feedback we get from you, the amount of success stories. There's stuff I won't get into because we're kind of running along today, but just the numbers, the conversations I'm having with advisors every single day that are putting into practice what we're talking about, and the time it gives them back because they're putting in systems or who not howing. They love their work. They've been in the business for 25 years, but they're doing things differently now.
Yep.
They've been in the business for 2 years, and suddenly they're going, this is a lot easier than it's ever been before.
Yep.
And I'm making more. I love, we would not do this if it did not work in a really massive way. And so I'm just excited for 2024 for the new things that we're going to bring, because frankly, we know that there's still a massive shift and change that needs to happen in this industry, and we want to lead that.
Yeah, if you're listening, you are capable of way more than you think you are. And that's why we do this, is because we see it firsthand that when there's a clear path, that if you all of a sudden said, with Sten, Andy, and their team's help, I now know what I need to do for the next 12 months, you can channel that energy you have. You're less frustrated, fewer regrets, and that is our hope for everyone. The good news is we get to walk with people in that, and we get to see it play out. So just know you are capable of way more than you know today. And my hope is, as you plan for next year, is you are willing to unlock. Because when that comes, and all of a sudden you realize there's more, there's some heavy stuff that comes with that, but you are capable of doing it.